I was on the Lions of Liberty show, Electric Libertyland, this week with Brian McWilliams, and we had a ton of fun.
Welcome to the Lava Spurt, the weekly offshoot of the Lava Flow, channeling the flow of information to the libertarian, anarcho-capitalist, voluntarist, and agorist community. Brought to you by my per-episode donors. Thank you. Here's your host, Rodger Paxton.
Brian McWilliams asked me to be on his Lions of Liberty show, Electric Libertyland, and we had so much fun. This is literally the first time I've talked to Brian since I thought he was going to die from alcohol poisoning this summer at PorcFest. It's good to know that he's still alive. We started off talking about Kanye's meeting with Trump, the impact of celebrity, before moving on to the purge of many libertarian and policing Facebook pages. Is it their right as a private company, or will there be repercussions in the legal sphere? The duo then dive into Saudi Arabia and the missing presumed dead journalist, who U.S. intelligence knew would be taken. We also tease a couple of topics that get fully answered in the patrons-only version of the show. Was Brian the destroyer of the mystery shattered mirror at PorcFest? And did he make it right? Did Rodger really get accidentally high while trying to record his latest The Lava Flow episode on Monday? You can get access to all of this and more by being a supporter of The Lava Flow at thelavaflow.com/support. I want to take a minute and thank Brian for having me on the show. As always, it was a blast. Make sure to hear the rest of the story by supporting The Lava Flow at thelavaflow.com/support. Without further ado, here is Electric Libertyland episode number 94.
What's up, Lions of Liberty fans? You can now support this show on Patreon and get exclusive access to bonus audio and video content, including Conspiracy Corner, Degenerate Gamblers, bonus segments with guests, and so much more. Head on over to patreon.com/Lions of Liberty.
Welcome to Electric Libertyland, here on the Lions of Liberty podcast, your weekly shot of culture, comedy, and liberty with your host, Brian McWilliams.
All right, everybody, welcome to Electric Libertyland, episode number 94. Yes, the real episode 94, unlike the last time when I lied to you guys about it for an episode. And you might have heard the sweet, sweet words at the top of the show from Kanye West, a man who has strongly endorsed Lions of Liberty off the record, of course. And by the way, off the record, you can also find the show notes for this episode at lionsofliberty.com/ELL94. But you got Kanye talking about a fine wine with deep notes that have to be appreciated. And I have a man here who's joining me. He is, I don't know if I call him a fine wine so much as maybe a stiff shot of whiskey right down your gullet. One Rodger Paxton of the Lava Flow and Pax Libertas. Rodger, how are you?
I'm fantastic, but you mentioned stiff, and I heard you liked it stiff, so that's great. Works out good for me.
I like everything stiff. Stormy Daniels, old horse face herself.
Funnily enough, last time I saw you, you were passed out drunk at PorcFest on the side of the road, just about half dead. I really thought you were going to die that night.
You know what? Maybe I should have, but I have a strange superpower because I was able. I think about an hour after I was out of the car on the side of the road, and you and your lovely wife, I think, dragged me to safety. I was able to get up and walk my ass back to my hotel room. Thank God, made it. So I'm here today. Thank you. Thanks to Rodger. And
well, thanks to the team at PorcFest. I mean, we had an amazing team. So glad you guys came, though. It was awesome.
Oh, it was fantastic, man. We're definitely going to come again next year. The one thing I request, though, and by the way, I do want to talk to you about I'll tease it at the top of the show because I want to do a little bonus content after we go through the regular show for our subscribers, talking about the mirror.
The mirror. Oh, right. The mirror. Yes. I want to know who did that. I still don't know to this day.
Well,
cost us $75 whole.
Oh, well, we're gonna talk about it in the bonus content.
Good.
So anyway, getting into it though. So yeah, PorcFest was awesome. The one thing I wanted to request though is that next year, if we do our whiskey challenge again, we'll use bigger teams, by the way, bigger teams. But I'd love it to be in the downstairs area, like in the main tent. It's a spectacle, God damn it. It has to be appreciated by the masses.
Well, one thing that Mark mentioned was a beer pong tournament, a Lions of Liberty sponsored beer pong tournament. Well, that would be awesome for the VIP tent for sure.
Oh, yeah. We are 100% on board with that. So anyway, let's get into this episode. Enough reminiscing about the wonder that is PorcFest. So did you watch the entire Trump-Kanye interview / rant session / confab, whatever you want to call it?
Look, you know me, Brian. I pay about as much attention to that as I do, anything that doesn't affect my life. I couldn't care less what Kanye West and Donald Trump talked about. I literally didn't watch 2 seconds of it.
Really?
I did, however, watch the Saturday Night Live spoof of it. That was awesome. I mean, Baldwin killed it.
Yeah,
that was well done.
I can appreciate the quality in the SNL Open, but here's the thing though, leading into that, because that's kind of part of the media reaction. So, Trump and Kanye, they sit down and basically, I'll sum it up for you as I burp because of this beer I'm drinking.
Right.
Excuse me, everybody. So Kanye gets in there. It's the typical Kanye thing. First, Trump says he's great. Then Kanye says he's great. Kanye has boasted about his 98th percentile IQ, of course.
Right.
But he actually got into some pretty good talking points. He said he wanted to end stop and frisk because Trump had just said that he wanted to roll that out in Chicago. Yep. He talked about the 13th Amendment and how he talked about the 13th Amendment in the way that it's still in effect where there's slaves being created by virtue of the way the system is set up. He called it like a trap door in the 13th Amendment, which is, how the police state operates, how black families are broken up, how the
people
drug
are caught in that system for the rest of their lives for minor offenses. Absolutely.
Yeah. And it showed a shockingly deep understanding from a guy like Kanye. And, he also hit on, weird thing, talking about justice reform. So Kanye at one point, he's talking about this man Hoover, who's been in jail. He's like an older man, black man. And he goes into this whole thing. And I know you'll love this as a fan of sci-fi. He goes into a whole rant about parallel universes and how in parallel universe town, he is this man Hoover that is in fact in jail, and Hoover is in fact Yeezy out on the streets dropping beats.
Well, according to the multiple universe theory, that is a possibility because all possibilities are infinite. I mean, it's an infinite amount of possibilities. So I guess from that perspective, he's correct if the multiple universe theory is an accurate theory, and I tend to believe that it is.
I agree.
For that matter, you could be me and I could be you. Who knows? Now that would be. We do have the same haircut, so
I know. Right? It's just call his podcast "Bald Guys with Beards Talking Politics."
Right.
Well, it's like I have never told this joke on stage, but I've always wanted to just go on stage and simply tell everybody that if you believe in parallel universes, then know for a fact that I have fucked every single person in the audience.
At least once, yes, absolutely.
At least, if not more than once.
Even the virgins.
yeah, exactly. I spread my seed wide and far.
Right.
So Kanye and Trump get together, though, and you saw this SNL skit. And again, I'll link to all these in the show notes. But the thing is, like, even as well done as the skit was, what bugged me about it is that at one point in that SNL opening sketch, they, what is this guy, Keaton? Fuck, which one's the fat one that's on the show?
I don't even know.
Well, all I could think was Keaton and Kel now, because I was talking about it earlier today. But the chubbier guy from Good Burger, he's doing his impression, and he calls Kanye basically saying that he is lost his mind. Like he literally questions the fact that he is sane right there. And I said, watching this is interesting because this is the left basically saying if you're a black man who doesn't agree with liberal philosophy, you are mentally deranged.
Right.
And it's just, and you're seeing that play out in all of these different medias. Like, did you see that CNN thing with? Negroes. He doesn't speak for the Negroes, and I mean they've called him a house Negro. They've called him an Uncle Tom. They've called him everything else. And of course, I've seen that coverage, and it's disgusting to me. I mean, here you have. Look, I don't agree with probably anything in the world that Kanye West could ever possibly say. Yeah. But I do agree that he is an independent human being with his own ideas and thoughts. And he does not speak for any group of people. He speaks for himself. Just like I don't speak for libertarians. You don't speak for morons. Very nice, Rodger.
Right. But seriously, we speak for ourselves and that's it. And everybody's trying to equate what he's saying with him trying to speak for a group of people. I find that disgusting. I mean, individuality. Everybody wants to group think and put us in all of these groups that we may or may not belong in. Just because he has black skin doesn't mean that he agrees with the average black person. Just because I, am bald and have a beard doesn't mean I agree with the average biker. I mean, those things don't always equate.
Oddly enough, all the bikers I see in LA, well, not all of them, but the largest portion are black. We have like black biker boy gangs everywhere. It's crazy.
Funny. So are you living in LA now?
I live in LA. Yeah. Me and Mark both live in LA.
I thought you were living like in somewhere else.
No, man. That's why it was an epic trip to come out to PorcFest.
I wish I'd known that, because I called Mark Claire out on my show that released today. I said, any libertarian podcaster who lives in Los Angeles needs to have their head, or who lives in California needs to have their head examined.
Dude, trust me, I know. I'm now trapped to I just bought a house with my wife because her family's here. She loves it. She loves her job. And I'm like, oh God, I hate it here so much, but I'm trapped now. And Mark's here. Jason Stapleton is now here too. It's like,
I know, God,
it's the weirdest thing. It's like, the most statist place you could be. Now we've got all these libertarians living here. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, to your point, trying to, it kind of reminded me like that Chris Rock sketch, this thing with calling him a Negro. Like, when's the last time you heard anybody in mainstream media use the word Negro?
Unless it's a derogatory term, right? And that's exactly my point. Is that had the white guy, there was a panel of black people and one white guy in that video. Had the white guy said that, he would have been immediately lambasted.
Oh yeah,
but just because this guy happens to have the same color skin, he can get away with it. Yeah, it's utter bullshit, and it just shows the arbitrariness of who can use that term. Because the guy who said it was almost as light skinned as I am, even though he's an African American.
Oh, of course. What I'll say, it reminds me of the Chris Rock sketch way back when Chris Rock went on stage and he says, there's black people and then there's niggers, right? And that's, his words, not mine, of course.
Right.
But it reminded me of that in the way that, it's instead of taking it as, okay, you're a black man with your own opinion, it's kind of taking this Chris Rock approach where now you're no longer a black man like the rest of us. You are now a Negro, using it in the derogatory fashion to say that he's stupid. Like they said, this is what happens when Negroes don't read. You just go, wow. Like, how do you take that fucking leap and not get your ass ripped apart for it? And it's, like I said, because you're black.
Right. That's it. And it's racism reversed. It's exactly what it is. And the fact that they can get away with making a statement like that and other people of other ethnicities could not is the epitome of racism. And it's disgusting to me. Look, I think racism is abhorrent. I cannot stand racist. I don't hang around them. I have nothing to do with them. As a matter of fact, my own father, who I love dearly, is a racist. And I had to explain to him early on in my kids' lives that, look, you're not going to use certain terms around my kids because I'm not going to teach that to my children. My own father.
Pap take you in the closet and don't let him tell you racist terms.
Right. So I mean, that's how adamant I am about it, that my own father I had to have this discussion with, because it's disgusting. But it's disgusting from all sides.
Yeah. Just funny side story. I remember one time I was out with a former fling of mine. She brought me to a wedding, and her family was there and her grandfather was there. And I told him I was from Philadelphia, which is where I grew up. And I just remember him going, oh, I lived in Philly. I loved Philly until all the niggers moved in. I was just like, who? I was like, oh, we haven't even had our cake yet.
Right. Well, that's what started with my dad, was that a black family moved, bought a house, like 4 houses down. And it's like, oh my God, here they go. All the niggers are moving in and all the property values are going to go down. And he said that in front of my 4-year-old kid. And I'm like, no, Dad, we are not doing this. No. So, but I had to have the same discussion with my mother about religion. That's just the way it goes, I guess.
Well, by the way, talking about, black people going in and moving into the neighborhoods and house buying, that was something that Kanye West talked about. He actually had gone into how he wanted to create, I had a whole page of notes, and of course I left them in the other room. He wants to create something called like Yeezy centers for industry, which are kind of like what Rand Paul wanted to do with his tax-free zones. And Yeezy has the same idea, the Yeezy Industrial Center. But he said, and he's making a very good point, like, we want to build here, but you need to give people the opportunity. You need to lower taxes. You need to give them a chance without the government boot on their neck. And it's like, again, I was very, very impressed with it.
I agree with that 100%. We need to do that across the board. Not only give tax breaks to the low-income Yeezy properties or whatever. Give it across the board. We would see so much innovation and so much growth and so much building in this country if we had all of the money that we produced. We produce this wealth, and when we give 40-50% of it to the federal government that pisses it away. Yep. Can you imagine what we could do with that money, with that wealth? We would, multiply that wealth by who knows how much.
Yeah.
But the government gets to piss it away.
Do you give Trump any credit, by the way, for, like, for instance, there's more jobs. I think there's like 1.2 million jobs that aren't filled. They have more jobs than there are workers, and it's, the highest point in history. Do you give Trump credit for that by lowering the corporate tax rate?
No, just like I don't give Obama, credit for the crashes that happened during his time. The president has so little impact on that. It's unbelievable. Hell, for that matter, Congress has so little impact. Mm-hmm. Those things don't really, it's not the fact that those things create issues or solve issues. It's the fact that they create the perception of solving issues or creating issues. It's the mentality. People think, oh, well, he's doing all of this great thing, so now we can invest and now we can put money out there into the ether instead of having to hang on to it. It's all a perception game. It's not about reality. People, there was still a lot of wealth socked under mattresses and stored away during the recession, the Great Recession. But people didn't want to touch it for fear of losing it because of the perception. It's all a perception issue.
Yeah, no, agreed. Well, speaking of perception issues, so we've got Kanye West backing Trump. You've got Taylor Swift, and I can't remember who she was stumping for, but it seems to not have worked. Some Democrat. When we talk about perception, are celebrities actually getting to have some sway? Like, I didn't think, I thought these celebrities coming out during the election run up, Hillary, Trump, I actually think they hurt because they're just telling all the people that were Trump supporters that they're assholes and idiots and whatever else. Now, granted, I would love to have some celebrities come out and say, okay, go vote Libertarian, which rarely happens. But do you actually think that it's having an impact?
I do, because there are a vast majority of people out there who really pay attention to pop culture. And there's a large number of people who give a fuck what Kanye West says. And I can't believe it. It is mind-boggling to me that there's a number of people, even 10 people, who give Kanye West the time of day, who care a shit about what he says. Boggles my mind, but there are literally millions who do. And the same with, who you just mentioned?
Yeah, Taylor Swift.
Taylor Swift. People pay attention to what these people say. I don't get it. But it just as much has as much impact on people who like them, saying, oh, yeah, that's great. But there's also people who are diametrically opposed to those people, and it sways their decision as well to either support or not support someone.
Yeah.
I certainly think it has an impact. And I think that is a disgusting thing, because if something's so small, so that doesn't matter for anything, and have that much impact, that is really telling about what is wrong in our country right now.
Yeah, exactly right, man. Because it's like, you think about these people that are advocating for this and that on Twitter, advocating for socialism, advocating for government restricting our rights, or calling people out for hate speech and all this other bullshit, and they're being led by idiots. They're getting their opinions from idiots that are ill-informed, have no idea, and they never fact check. They never look into it themselves. It's like, you see these fucking Instagram models with 7 million followers that just have so much influence, and you're like, you're just pretty. You stand in front of shit.
Well, the thing that bothers me about Kanye West, I've never even heard a single song, to my knowledge, that Kanye West sang, because that's not my type of music. He may be a fabulous artist. I don't know. I wouldn't know the difference.
Well, Rodger, I would presume, look at you, you're mostly Christmas carols, right?
Christmas carols and Christian music. No. I like, Tool, Stain, that sort of thing. I like some of the, 90s and early 2000s stuff. But my point is that he may be a fantastic artist. Somebody may be a fantastic actor or actress. But to think that those people can shape policy disturbs me to no end. And it happens all the time. I mean, we saw it with Obama. I mean, he was so popular with the Hollywood elite, and it really helped shape policy. That's scary.
Yeah, it's terrifying, especially with actors, because you say, okay, at least musicians, you're doing something, you're creating something. With these actors, it's like you professionally just read lines and pretend. So why would anybody trust your opinion? Why would anybody think you have a brain in your head? Of course, I live in LA. I see them firsthand. Pissing out all our actor buddies, of course. But yeah, anyway, it is truly sickening what we're seeing unfold here. And, it actually ties in well with the next topic I want to get into, which is Facebook completely just fucking everybody over that has any sort of dissenting opinion from the mainstream media narrative. And, that we see the power of these celebrities on social media speaking out. They've got, like I was saying, millions and millions of followers. They tweet out, people retweet all this bullshit. And then we see the forces pushing back on social media, like Free Thought Project got deplatformed. Police the Police is gone.
V for Voluntary. I mean, there were so many, and I followed a lot of those sites. And I didn't follow all of them. Many of them I disagreed with, but that's beside the point. Just because I disagreed with them doesn't mean they shouldn't have a voice.
Yeah, and it's like, frankly, I'm insulted that we were not purged. We didn't make the cut, which is some horse shit. But, excuse me. I'm going to be burping during this episode, guys. I'm not editing it out.
It's all good.
Yeah, but you see that, you see this deplatforming shit, and you go, okay, so you've got lockstep now, mainstream media, social media, and it all falls in line with this progressive thinking and these celebrity platforms. So as people get deplatformed, the question is twofold. Number one, do you think that this is Facebook's right, they're a private company, or their qualifications? And second question, where do we go from here?
Okay, so I actually, this was my State is Gonna State segment on my show that released this morning was talking about this purge because I find it disgusting. Is it Facebook's right? Absolutely. It is their platform. They put the money into it. They put the ingenuity into it. They built it. Obama didn't build that. Facebook built that. And that's fine. That is their right to do it. But it's also my right to tell Facebook to fuck off. And that's what I've been doing slowly over several months. I've been, weaning my use of Facebook down tremendously. I'm down right now to where I only use it a handful of times a day, and it's primarily to support my two businesses, the Pax Libertas Productions and the audiobook stuff that I'm doing. And other than that, I almost never use it. My next stage is going to be where I don't check my notifications on my phone until it's 99 plus. And then after that, I'm going to remove the Facebook app from my phone and only use it for my computer. I'm eventually going to wean myself off of it because any company that unilaterally uses the ban hammer like that is not a company I'm going to do business with. Yeah. Now, sadly, because of my companies, I have to do some business with them. Well, but I'm going to limit my personal use.
Well, that's what fucking kills people the most, too. Is like, the Free Thought Project, I think they had, millions, 3 million followers.
3.1 million or something, yeah.
I mean, that's a legitimate business you built. Yeah. And that's where you wonder, I mean, even though they are a private company, you do kind of wonder at some point if there's an argument to be made. And I'm sure there's something in their user agreement where you can't sue them for being deplatformed. But as a business, if you look at it as a business and at them, shutting you out of a business, can you sue for damages? Because if they're coming after you by saying this is something where we feel you're, misrepresenting, it was some vague bullshit term that they used.
Using spam and all this kind of stuff. But yes, do they have a lawsuit on their hands? Absolutely. If I'm policing the police or if I'm, some of these major large ones, absolutely I'm filing suit.
Yeah.
But, Facebook's biggest issue, and they said it in their reasoning for dropping these people, is because they were sending traffic off of Facebook to their pages. That's Facebook's biggest gripe. Because Facebook wants their users to stay in Facebook. That works for Facebook, but the fact that they can unilaterally just make that decision and they do it with impunity is disgusting. Now, again, it's their right, but it's also, the police's right to sue the hell out of them if they want. And I think they've got a good case.
Well, here's where I wonder if it becomes a First Amendment issue, because the reason I bring this up is because Facebook does deal with the government. They work with the government on so many different levels. They work with the FBI to purge some of these different pages, to sponsor, to review content, review postings. So they're working in lockstep with the government on so many different levels where you go, okay, are you even a private company anymore?
I see where we're going with that. And I can
by the way, I don't think I can actually win this argument if I was going to have it and try to defend it, but I think it's worth talking about.
Well, I mean, and I agree. I think that, there is today with major corporations, there's a lot of crony capitalism that goes on. There's a lot of government, non-government interaction and partnerships that happen. My biggest issue is the First Amendment says Congress shall make no law. And, it to me is primarily about public spaces. I don't think today that Facebook is a public space. Now, if Facebook were primarily funded by the government, now you've got a case, but they're not. So at this point, they're still a private organization.
All right. I respect that. Now, the other thing I wanted to talk about with this, though, is as we see all these platforms moving forward, we see, I mean, it's, these people have to be talking behind closed doors about the actions they're taking, all the different companies. We saw, I sent you that Google document, which basically it was called the Good Censor. And essentially what this document came out from inside of Google, and it was leaked to, I got it linked to the show notes, but I saw it on Breitbart. But it's an 85-page briefing document done from internal research, basically saying that cyber harassment, cyber racism, etc., are kind of like degrading people's belief in online free speech. And
one of the things that really drove me crazy about the article you're talking about is, yes, cyber harassment, cyber racism, inventing, but the one that really got me was users behaving badly.
Right. Yeah.
Who makes that determination? Who is the user behaving badly czar? I mean, come on.
Yeah, it's like because they don't agree with it, and they even acknowledge that it's super heavily slanted towards the left. All of these Silicon Valley companies slant heavily left. So when they go, okay, you're behaving badly. Okay, according to who? According to what? Just like you're saying, because I don't agree with you, I'm now getting shadow banned. I'm now, going to be a target of censorship by search terms or by whatever whatever Google's platform is going to do. I mean, God knows what they're doing with the emails, which they read all of them.
Yeah.
So what's the problem I always come around to is what's next. Like these companies have, by virtue of being an attractive market option, we all use them. Google, sure. I use it fucking every day. I hate them, but I use it. So, again, what do we do? Where do we go? And do you have faith that the market will provide? I do, I guess. But do you, how long? How long do we have to wait?
Well, I mean, MySpace was here before Facebook, and MySpace had a large, user base. They were usurped by Facebook because Facebook had better options. Can Facebook be usurped? Absolutely. I mean, millennials, kids are not using Facebook. Facebook is the thing for old folks like you and me. Kids don't use Facebook. Kids are using Instagram. Kids are using, what's the other one?
Snapchat.
Snapchat, yeah. Kids are using those. Kids are staying the hell off of Facebook. And there's good reasons for that, as we're finding out. Because Facebook is, it's great for old fogies like us. But for kids, typing words is a challenge. And I don't mean a challenge as in they don't have the mental bandwidth to do it. It's because, their lives are, they've got so many things going on that they would rather just snap a picture and say, hey, here I am. This is what I'm doing. Whereas you and I, we would much rather type something out.
Right. So it's just like video content as opposed to, I'm old school. I still prefer to read articles rather than watch videos. Like when I click on something and it goes to a video, I get fucking pissed off and I close it. I prefer to read the written word. I feel like I get more out of it. I understand it better. You can reread it to be vastly better. But all these newer people coming up, like you said, it's visual learning, it's visual stimulus. They want videos, they want pictures. So it makes sense that
it's the instant gratification. And I think that there's something to that. And I think that that's going to be Facebook's downfall. Now, of course, Facebook did buy Instagram, and there's a reason for that because they know that it's going to be the next one that's going to be huge. And it already is. I mean, I'm finding out that now for my podcast, if I don't have an Instagram, I've got a problem. And I don't have one for the Lava Flow, but I'm building them. I'm trying to build them out.
Yeah, we got to build one too for Lions as well.
Yeah. And that, that's where the future is going. And I think that that's probably a good thing, even though Facebook owns Instagram. Yeah. I think that they may learn a lot of mistakes they've made with Facebook, and hopefully that'll carry on. We'll see.
But see, the thing is, though, since they bought Instagram, that's the big platform. Memes, the great meme war has obviously been going on as well with them banning people that are posting memes. Same thing with Instagram. And I haven't heard anything on Instagram yet of people cracking down on memes. I've heard it where they get rid of titties, but as far as I know, memes are still safe. I mean, maybe there's some way to flag content. Is it appropriate to get it removed? But I haven't seen the draconian measures being taken like they just did with this Facebook bullshit.
Look, I love memes and all, but I'd much rather see a pair of titties than some memes. I mean, come on. So
Liberty titty memes. I just came up with your new company.
Yeah, that's Rodger at PaxLibertas.com. Send me all the Liberty titties, please. I'll even share them with my wife, I promise.
That's good to know that you guys can share things. The couple that looks at tits together stays together. I think
that's exactly right.
That's crocheted exactly right. Something or other back in the day. So anything else to say on this topic, on free speech, on this? Because I'm going to take a quick break after your statement. So
yeah, I mean, I don't think this is a free speech issue. Is it censorship? I've had too much Fireball. Sorry. Is it censorship? Yes, it is censorship. Is it a free speech issue? I don't think that we can make that argument. So that's my final words.
All right, there you go. So we're going to take a quick break. Hear a word for our sponsor, and we'll be back with more. Rodger Paxton from the Lava Flow podcast here on Lions of Liberty, Electric Libertyland. We don't rise to the level of our expectations, we fall to the level of our training. Those epic words from Archilochus can sum up your ability to succeed or fail in business. I want to recommend Conversation Mat Time to our listeners as a way to hone your one-on-one conversation skills in a role-playing session that can help take you to the next level. During 25-minute sessions, you'll work through the best way to approach that raise, that interview, or that relationship with a practiced professional that will provide the confidence and experience you need to get paid what you're worth or take that interpersonal risk you've never been able to conquer. Just like in jiu-jitsu, the difference between a novice and a black belt is mat time. Train to win. Visit conversationmattime.com and take advantage of a free 15-minute consultation just for listeners of this show. All right, welcome back to Electric Libertyland, episode number 94. I am here with Rodger Paxton, my buddy from PorcFest, a leading voice in Liberty, and a man that, like me, does have a nice set of pipes on him. The only thing, though, Rodger mentioned a little tidbit that I am curious to hear more about, but I think we'll save this for the bonus content, Rodger. So, you got in an accident the other day, did you?
No, well, not quite an accident. So I got accidentally stoned as balls on Monday of all days. Here I'm supposed to be working, and I realized when I'm in the middle of recording my show that I am stoned as balls. So
like
long story.
Wait a minute, you got to save the story for the bonus people. You can't tell it now.
Right. But I do want to say that I was in the middle of recording my latest lava flow. That's why I was a few hours late this week. Because in the middle of recording, I realized I am high as a fucking kite. So I had to wait a few hours.
I'll say now everybody has to listen. That's talk about a way to promote your show. People are going to be listening intently, and they're going to be like, when does the switch? By the way, so during our commercial break, you asked me what I was drinking now because I went and got a little bit of whiskey to help this hangover, keep me powered for the show. I'm drinking Old Forester Statesman whiskey, and it's kind of interesting because Costco has they had this White Walker, Johnny Walker thing based on Game of Thrones. Terrible, got that too terrible. But then they have this Statesman based upon the Kingsman movies.
Oh, right. Those are good movies. I enjoy those.
Yeah, they weren't bad. And so I was like, okay, I'll buy this and see what it is. And you know what? It's fucking delicious. Really good.
You're a redneck if you buy your whiskey from Costco. Come on.
Dude, the prices. You cannot beat the prices there.
Come to New Hampshire. Well, dude. I mean, while our liquor stores are state-run, which is something we're trying to stop.
EA too.
Yeah, but at least we don't have any taxes on our alcohol. So our alcohol is some of the lowest in the country here in New Hampshire.
That's nice. Well, let me tell you, you could get a bottle of Johnny Walker Blue at Costco for $1.49.
Ooh, that's a good price.
Right? I'm just saying, man. Christmas is coming up.
Right. I am not sending you some fucking Johnny Walker Blue. Sorry, love you, brother, but nope. if I'm buying that, it's going on my shelf.
God damn it. I'm canceling my subscription to your program.
Right.
All right. Well, anyway, so let's get back into it. Let's get into this Saudi Arabia thing because there's just reading this shit pissed me off. Just because number one, we got the U.S. supporting this fucking proxy war in Yemen. I just read a story where they just bombed another bus full of children and innocent people, killed another 17 people. We're causing cholera outbreaks for all the children that are dying from the barricades. It is a nightmare. We're causing a genocide. We know this.
Yes.
And in the midst of that, the U.S. still supports Saudi Arabia. We're still moving forward with this fucking arms deal. And then we find out that Saudi Arabia has assassinated a journalist. Or who is he dead or is he just missing?
Well, I think as far as there's no evidence that he's dead that I have been able to see yet.
Right.
At this point, I think that he's just missing, but I think it's pretty much presumed that he's dead.
Yeah, that is more pronounced because there was a Bloomberg-based report that came out, and the Washington Post also reported on it, that U.S. intelligence services intercepted communications from Saudi officials discussing a plan to capture this journalist, and they were going to lure him back to the kingdom, and then, adios, torture him, do whatever they want to him. So in light of that, Rodger, what would you presume we would do as a country, and what have you seen us actually do?
Well, I am surprised at this point that Trump has not been dropping bombs because that's kind of his mentality. And I think that if we were under, George Bush or Obama, as many bombs as they dropped, I mean, hell, Obama dropped more bombs than Bush ever did. Yeah. I think that we would see some sort of military intervention. I'm quite surprised that Trump hasn't because, Trump likes to swing his big dick around, but he hasn't done anything. And I'm thankful that he hasn't. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that he should because I think, and look, I agree with George Washington. We don't want, we want free trade with everybody and no entanglements as far as, getting involved in this shit. And that's part of the problem that we have is that we're allies with people like Saudi Arabia, who we know for a fact was involved in the 9/11 attacks, but yet we're still allies with these jackasses. Yep. We should not be allies with anybody. Free trade. Hey, I'll sell you some of my shit. You sell me some of your shit, but we're not getting involved with your, what's going on in your crazy ass world.
Yeah.
But, unfortunately, that's not the reality.
Well, it's just, it's like one of those things where USA, we put forth this image for so long. I mean, the reason the USA was so successful was based upon this image, bring us your poor and downtrodden and we'll take everybody and, we're the good guys and freedom, freedom. And then we've got the reality of the situation, which is that, for the past, 60, 70 years at least, the USA has been complicit in getting their fucking noses in every single possible place, completely trampling people's liberty and freedom, overthrowing dictatorships. And, this relationship with Saudi Arabia has been going on since I was a kid. I remember.
Oh, yeah.
It's just been going on and for oil.
Well, Iran in the 70s. I mean, we've been doing it for decades.
Yeah. And Iran, who, of course, we caused the whole issue there by overthrowing their leaders.
Yeah, but, I mean, you look at the pictures of certain areas in Iran before we stuck our nose in there, and then after, and it's like you go from this beautiful lush area to a fucking war zone to something that was just destroyed by these overzealous religious nut jobs that we supported. Yep. It boggles the mind.
Yeah. Well, here's the other thing that boggles my mind, though, too, is that we've got this report comes out about the fact that U.S. intelligence services knew for a fact that Saudi Arabia was going to make a move to assassinate a journalist who was critical of the regime, or not assassinate, abduct.
Right.
And they did nothing about it.
Yeah.
We put ourselves forward as these, I don't, you don't. The United States and its military put itself forward as this source for good, stepping in for the downtrodden, for the people in danger all over the world. That's why we are in all these entanglements, if you ask the government. But meanwhile, we allow this ally to abduct an innocent person that is a journalist. Freedom of the press is one of the most important things in our society, but they allow this to happen. That's what blows my mind. If they just ignored it, right? If they didn't know about it, and they said, okay, well, we're going to look the other way. This guy disappeared. It's kind of coincidence. But when you actually intercept messages talking about it, that's
and you don't make a phone call. You don't call the dude and say, hey, don't go back to Saudi Arabia.
Maybe it's a text. You up, bro? Yeah, don't go to the fucking border.
Yeah, I don't understand that. Now, it almost sounds like, and correct me if I'm wrong, it almost sounds like you're thinking that we should have had some sort of military intervention, and I don't think we should have. I mean,
I definitely don't think that.
Because this guy was an individual. He made an individual choice to get suckered into going to Saudi Arabia when he knew there might be issues.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I'm not saying the guy deserved it. I'm certainly not victim blaming. I'm certainly not, bashing the victim here.
What was he wearing?
Right. But I mean, he made a bad choice, and should a whole country now, two countries, be militarily involved with each other because one individual made a bad choice? Of course not.
Yeah.
No way.
Well, the thing is, I was hoping that because this individual made a bad choice, that two countries would be militarily divorced from each other over it.
I would hope so. I am sick and tired of us selling goddamn arms and the latest, greatest jets and weapons to Saudi Arabia, who we know for a fucking fact was part of the attack on 9/11. And we're still selling them the top of our weapons. I don't fucking get it.
I love on the same level, Israel, we sell all our top weapons to Israel as well. We provide them with all these resources. We literally give them weapons. So these weapons are getting a little old. You guys will use them. So we give them away. In the meantime, a few years ago, this report came out. I think it was right after the China hacking thing or the North Korea hacking thing with Sony and another China hack of whatever database, Social Security. So this report came out. I said that weird. This report came out saying that Israel was the number one cyber threat to the United States. They hack us more than anybody. They hack everyone's communications. And you look at, it's not a surprise when you look at the power that AIPAC has in this country to influence people. And, the race word, you're a racist, you're an anti-Semite, has so much fucking power that it's just used as a cudgel. And we just keep fucking associating with these people.
Yeah. And, I'm not an anti any group of people. I'm anti individual people. And, this is what I try to drive home on my show all the time. It's individual attitudes. It's individual mentalities. It's individual people. Quit putting people in groups. Quit boxing people into these groups that they may or may not belong to. I have Jewish friends. I have Palestinian friends. I hate some Jews. I hate some Palestinians. I hate some white people. It has nothing to do with the color of your skin or your nationality. That shit is so old. We are past that.
Yeah.
So anybody who throws there's a guy, I think his name is Bruce Majors on Facebook. He's a libertarian LP national activist. And he is always throwing, because he's Jewish, he's always throwing this bullshit. You're an anti-Semite. You're an anti-Semite. You're an anti-Semite. Fuck you. Anytime anybody says something negative about what Israel is doing, that person's automatically an anti-Semite.
Yeah,
Fuck
exactly. You. I remember Ron Paul. We did this way back in the day. We wrote these essays. Back when we had a website we posted written word on. Ron Paul went through these 32 different tenets or something like that. His 32 points for making the country better,
right?
Whatever they were called. And, challenging the power of AIPAC was one of them for that exact reason. There's no way this tiny country should have this much influence on American politics and policy and keep us entrenched. Just think about the fact that Israel is so hated in that region keeps us involved in that region. And there's no escape. Even Rand fucking Paul himself said that if, the United States stands with Israel, if you attack Israel, you attack the United States.
Right.
Bullshit. They have nothing to do with us. Nobody's life would be impacted in any goddamn way.
Look, as much as I wish Rand Paul were a libertarian, he's not. He has fallen so far from the tree that it's not even funny. And it makes me sad. Look, when he said he was running for Senate, I was so excited because I wanted a fucking Ron Paul in the Senate so bad. We got anything but. And it's a shame.
Where's the cloning? We've got that gene splicing thing, CRISPR. Can we CRISPR ourselves a fucking Ron Paul together?
Well, we made Dolly the sheep. Can we make Dolly Ron Paul? I don't know.
First sheep man elected to Senate. Yeah, but it's like, I've heard a little bit of murmuring after this Saudi thing. I heard, they were talking about some sanctions against Saudi Arabia, but of course, Donald Trump says no to that. And Saudi Arabia, instead of being, I don't even know if they'd ever be complicit, but then they threatened to fuck with the oil supply and rain death upon us. This is our ally that just abducted a journalist, and they're not denying it, by the way.
Right. Well, the thing that really bothers me is that every modern American president has gone and bowed before the Saudi king.
Oh, yeah.
Now, that is just, look, I don't believe, I think the government is a myth and a mentality that we need to move past anyway. But if you're going to have governments and one government is bowing to a much smaller, less powerful government, I mean, come on, what kind of bullshit? I mean, that would be like me bowing to you. Bullshit, that's going to happen.
Oh, come on, Rodger, someday. Meanwhile, at PorcFest, I think I was bowing to you and everybody else as I was throwing up in the grass for.
Oh, dude, I was so fucking worried about you and JB. Oh, I was so worried about you.
Just give me your. It's a good way to. I'm very curious from your standpoint. Give me the breakdown of your experience with the Lions of Liberty from PorcFest from an outsider perspective, because I'm in the middle of it. I'm super hammered the whole time, so my perspective may be different.
So we'll talk about this one incident first. I was enjoying myself, finally having being able to unwind after a fucking crazy week. One of my arrangers, which is what we call kind of our security team that kind of keeps the peace and makes sure everybody's okay and that nobody's going to die of alcoholism, comes to me in the VIP tent and says, I think one of your friends up here with the Lions of Liberty is like shit-faced, passed out on the road. I'm like, oh my God. I thought it was Mark. I thought for sure Mark Claire is
Howie. I mean,
yeah. Right. So I go up there and it's you and JB passed the fuck out. After about 45 minutes, I guess, we finally are able to get you to maybe stand up a little bit. Yep. JB missed my throwing up on my foot by about 6 inches. It was crazy. So, that was part of it. But I'll tell you, look, having Chris Spangle with We Are Libertarians and Johnny Rocket from, Blast Off with Johnny now.
Yep.
That was, almost like a dream come true for me. Because I've been conversing with you guys for years, and to be able to bring you guys in and just fucking hang out with you guys and love on you guys and just have a hell of a week, it was amazing.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I can't speak highly enough of PorcFest, and you did an amazing job putting it together. It's it was really cool just to see that many people get together, and and like the lineup was amazing. You had there too, like speakers. Yeah, I loved Eric July. He was my favorite.
Yeah,
I did get to talk shit to him, and I've had him on the podcast. But nice. Yeah, I mean, it was really impressive, man.
Well, I'll tell you, my wife was responsible for at least 75% of that because, I was working a full-time job, 50, 60 hours a week, whereas, she was able to really devote the time to it. So I give her all the credit because she rocked it. My contribution was on site, during the week, but she made it happen. So
yeah. Well, you know what? I want to ask you one thing, man, because this is interesting. I would port one over because I'm curious to see what your answer will be to this. We do our Candidates of Liberty series.
Oh, boo.
Whatever.
Statists.
But we asked them, what's one position they have that they don't, or what's one position the Libertarian Party has that they aren't on board with? So what's, and I'm sure you could find 25, but what's your biggest gripe? What's one Libertarian position that you personally may not be on board with? Because I just think it's a fascinating question to ask people.
I'll be honest with you. I haven't read the plank in probably close to a decade at this point, which is a crying shame because I probably should read it. But my issue is not with the plank. My issue is not with the statement of principles. I mean, the statement of principles is so strong. Mm-hmm. As a matter of fact, Karen Ann Harlos has done a 3-part series on her newest podcast. It's on Pax Libertas Productions, by the way.
There you go.
It's called the Big L Podcast, and check it out at biglpodcast.com. She did a 3-part segment on the statement of principles and why it is so important and why it's so strong. It's so incredible. I love the statement of principles. My issue with the Libertarian Party is the fact that they run candidates that, you can bring the whore to church. Bring the whore to church, yes, get her saved, but don't have her preaching from the pulpit the next Sunday. Yeah. And that's what we've done with so many candidates, one right after the other. Bob Barr, Gary Johnson, fucking Bill Weld. Don't even get me started.
I love him just because I like to do impressions of him, but he's a terrible candidate.
Well, everybody loves the shiny new thing in the Libertarian Party, even some of the hardcore libertarians, and it makes me sick. Yeah. That's my biggest issue with the Libertarian Party.
No, I agree with you there. I mean, it's something where I had supported the Mises Caucus. I'm still not a part of the Libertarian Party. I know you guys took the plunge to take it down, or not take it down, but change it. You
guys, I had nothing to do with it, and I gave Mark Claire and Tom Woods and Dave Smith. I gave all these people shit over it. Look, join your local parties if you think there's a chance, but do not join the National Libertarian Party. It is beyond saving at this point.
Yeah, well, that brings up a different question. I'd asked this a couple different forums, and I voiced it on my show a few times too. Is I openly have a concern that libertarian as a term, as a party, is something that can't be saved. Not just because of the politics within it and the way that they're kind of pushing themselves to kowtow to these social justice kind of bullshit people coming up now, but also just because the term libertarian, if you go and say the term libertarian, you say, I'm a libertarian to somebody, immediately they roll their eyes. They've got this misconstrued conception of it. Is it time to take back a word or to create a new descriptor for ourselves that's not fucking poison?
There's no need to create one. Look, they took the word liberal from us, classical liberal. They took liberal from us. They're taking libertarian from us. The word libertarian means nothing anymore. It absolutely means nothing. It is whatever anybody who thinks they might be a libertarian thinks the word means, and that's bullshit. I don't use the term libertarian almost ever anymore unless I'm talking to libertarians. Yeah. When I'm meeting new people, I use the term voluntarist, and that's the term that I stick with because it describes itself. I believe in voluntary interactions. No ifs, ands, or buts. The government isn't exempt. Nothing is exempt. Voluntary interactions, nothing else.
Yeah, well, I mean, shit, man, I'm down with that. And I give Dave Smith credit for. I used to be a minarchist, and Dave Smith, I think, on a drunken podcast, brought me over to full anarchy.
Good.
So, but it's it's one of those things where you just look at the basis of everything, like people, as you're saying, government is a myth, and it really is. When you have voluntary environments, you don't need somebody to step in and be Big Brother. Actually, the only thing I could see, I will say this: the only issue I would have would be with the military. My toe is, by the way, if you see me shaking around, my fucking toe just cramped on me for being over. My pinky toe, I'm talking to you, and my pinky toe just shot straight up in the air. Just the pinky.
Oh my
it's
God.
Cramping. I'm talking. I'm like, God damn, that pinky.
Christ.
I'm like stretching it out. I could see the military, that being an issue, because you do wonder, okay, if somebody brought full bore military strength, if China wanted to invade, I worry about it. Not because I don't think that guerrilla warfare is a tactic, because it is. That's why the Second Amendment is so vital. Because, we can't take over anybody. We have vastly superior power. But I do worry about the people that will be killed because of it. Look, and now, granted, knowing that our military murders people every fucking day.
Look, governments don't attack people. Governments attack governments. Governments attack other military. Military attacks military. If you have a small enclave of people, the chances of something happening are slim. But even if it happens, Bob... Oh, God. Contra Krugman.
Let me stop you.
Bob Murphy.
Let me challenge that really quick. Native Americans. They were not governments. They were tribes of people.
That was during a time of the world's history where people were trying to expand to find new land. We've already found all the land. Those kind of things are very rare to happen. But I challenge everybody to read Bob Murphy's pamphlet. It's free on the internet. and it's called, oh, Jesus Christ. It's something about warlords. And it talks about this concept of what would happen, in that kind of a society, in a voluntary society, would the warlords take over? And of course, you would have some that would try, but you would have what's called insurance companies. We have those. Those are not a stretch of the imagination, who would be responsible for insuring your property, your life even. And they would be responsible for making sure that it's safe, because they don't want to lose their investment. They don't want to lose their what they have. Because, if I lose my life, then all of a sudden my life gets, say, $1 million. My house gets burned down by a warlord. All of a sudden, they are out some money. So they're going to do what they have to do to protect those establishments and those people's lives.
All right. I'll accept that for now. All right, man. Anything else? So I'm out of topics for right now. And as I said, I'm pinky cramping. So I'm itching to get into our bonus content because it's going to be awesome. Like I said, there's just to tease it. At PorcFest, we did the Whiskey Challenge. Now, many of you who are regular listeners to the show, pardon me, know what the Whiskey Challenge is. That's where we had 2 teams of 3 with a handle of whiskey, and you try to finish your handle first. Now, the reason I was so completely fucking shit-faced at PorcFest, but meanwhile, until I got outside in the dark, completely coherent, despite being very drunk. Which, by the way, is a weird thing. You ever get this? Like, I could be totally okay as drunk. I could be as drunk as possible, but I can maintain. But when I went out into the dark, I got the spins immediately because I lost it's like being seasick. I lost my fucking horizon line.
Yeah.
And that just kills me.
You lose all perspective, and it fucks you up.
Yep. Destroyed me. So anyway, we do this Whiskey Challenge though, and afterwards, whoever broke this mirror, let's just say we recorded this podcast and a mirror was broken in the bathroom at PorcFest.
And we didn't find out about it until 3:00 that morning. And I get a call from one of my rangers who was doing her rounds saying, we have a broken mirror. I'm thinking the last people that was in there were the goddamn Lions of Liberty fuckers. So I'm anxious to find out who did that.
All right. Well, secrets will be revealed in the bonus time. So anyway, Rodger, let's finish up this podcast, man. Tell everybody where they can find you. I already know because I am a paying supporter, but tell everybody what you got going on, all about Pax Libertas Productions too, or Pax Libertas. I always say, is it Pax or Pax? I always say Pax on your household.
Yeah, it's like Paxton. Pax means peace, and that's where, Paxton means man of peace, and of course I stole that for Pax Libertas.
There you go. Beautiful. Okay, so tell everybody where to go.
So go to PaxLibertas.com. It's got all 7 of our podcasts. It's one of the biggest libertarian podcast networks out there right now. 7 different shows. Everything from, like I mentioned, the Big L podcast for, libertarian party types. We've got Resist the Empire, which is a look at the Star Wars universe from a libertarian perspective. Essential Libertarianism, which is, if you're interested in voluntarism, that's the one to look at because we talk about voluntarism every week. And of course, my flagship show, The Lava Flow. But if you're a Christian, we have Anarcho-Christian podcast. We have a peaceful parenting podcast called One Free Family. And you can get it all at PaxLibertas.com.
Oh, damn. Next, you know what, man? We got to have you on an LILDL show because I want to voice my theories on the issues that plague children today because they are at odds somewhat with peaceful parenting.
Oh, okay. Well, I've got 2 kids that are peaceful parented and radically unschooled, and they seem to be doing all right.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, somebody else. My buddy, I'll give him a shout out. Adam Choit was looking to talk to people who had homeschooled children. I told him to contact you.
He sent me a message, and we're going to get together later this week to chat about it.
Beautiful. Awesome, man. Making connections. Libertarians on Libertarian Crime. All right. Yep. So anyway, there you go. That's where you can find all of Rodger's content. And by the way, guys, I forgot to plug this last show. I want to plug it this show. I'm going to be doing a live, I think we're going to record a podcast, but it's going to be Michael Bolden, my main man from the 10th Amendment Center. Love that guy. Me and Jason Stapleton are going to be doing a live event in Hollywood. It's a brunch the morning of November 4th by virtue of Liberty on the Rocks, an organization I love my man Pablo over there too. So if you're interested, if you're in LA or in the region and you want to come down, it's perfectly free. Come up, have some drinks, hear us rant about liberty and have a hell of a time. And I'll be there. Anyway, moving on. So guys, Rodger, this has been too long coming. Thank you for being on the show, man. It's
absolutely. Awesome. Thanks for having me. I've enjoyed it very much.
Damn well right. Me too. So anyway, guys, from me, Brian McWilliams, from the Lions of Liberty and from Electric Libertyland, always stay plugged into liberty.
Thank you for listening to The Lava Flow at thelavaflow.com. Don't miss an episode. Subscribe now at thelavaflow.com/subscribe. This has been a Pax Libertas Productions podcast.